happens after death? The afterlife is a concept of a realm, or the realm itself, that we find ourselves in, or don't we, after we die. Does our consciousness continue after the death of the body? Parapsychologists study things like telepathy, telekinesis, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and more to document what it is that we know of the afterlife. Today, we are here to discuss the hereafter. Hello and welcome to Dirty Little Secrets.
Here at the House of Secrets in Burbank, California.
I'm Trisha Hershberger and I'm joined today by Misty Lee and Elliott Morgan. Thank you both so much.
Darling.
Yay! So Misty and Elliott,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do. Misty?
I am a professional creeper, both on camera and off. I'm the seance medium at the Magic Castle, so I do a lot of ghost talking. And we travel the country and do magic shows. You would know that if anybody would. Trisha and I work together a lot.
I know. Elliott?
I make jokes on the internet.
It's true.
About it. No, I do.
You just did another one!
Yeah, I hosted a show over at youtube.com/Elliott Morgan, and then a show called Mashable Minute at youtube.com/Mashable, and I also do stand-up comedy and write and act.
Yay! Well, thank you both so much for joining us today to discuss the afterlife. We're going to start off with a segment called Fact or Fiction. I'm going to say a statement, and you will both take turns telling me if you think that statement is fact or fiction.
Ooh, fun.
Great, yes.
I like
Opinion
this. I like
time.
the distilling it into fact or
Yes.
fiction.
Yes. Okay. 1 in 10 people have an out-of-body experience at least once in their life. Elliott?
I would say it's fact.
Misty?
I'm going to say it's probably fiction because that statistic is very high.
According to the internet, which we all know is the place to go for all things accurate,
yeah.
it says fact. The scientific community consider out-of-body experiences to be an experience from a mental state like a dream or an altered state of consciousness without recourse to the paranormal. However, writers within the field of parapsychology and occultism have written that out-of-body experiences are not psychological and that a soul, spirit, or subtle body can detach itself out of the body and visit distant locations, for those of you who are not familiar with out-of-body experiences. Apparently, it's 1 out of 10 have at least one experience or more. Some people have multiple out-of-body experiences.
Yeah, astral projection is very common among people.
What is that?
That's the leaving of the body and going somewhere. It's called astral projection, and it's very common among people who believe that you can do that. They do it a lot. It's part of it's a high-level meditation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next, fact or fiction. After Houdini died, he gave his wife a password in case he was ever called upon in a seance. That phrase was, Rosalind believe. Fact or fiction, Elliott?
I'm going to call BS on that and go fiction.
Do you have a why?
Because I feel like Houdini as a magician knows the secrets, and so he was like privy to the inside knowledge of how it all works, so I don't feel like he would do that.
Okay. Misty?
They definitely did have a phrase.
And was it Rosalind believe?
It was definitely believe.
Very good, yeah. So that statement is fiction because there was a phrase, but it was Rosabelle believe.
Oh wow, that's idiosyncratic, you know.
She's being a turkey.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're kind of right.
Okay.
Because Houdini spent the second half of his entire career busting seance mediums.
Really?
He went all over the world in costume.
Yeah.
And he would go to these mediums because it was a huge religion at the time. People were paying anything because life was so hard and they really wanted to believe that there was life after death because it gave them something to comfort
distract
them.
and, yeah.
And so he traveled the entire country in costume because these mediums were putting on what he considered a show. And even though what he did looked like it was supernatural, he only ever called it apparent miracles.
Interesting.
Because and it really violated his code of ethics. And so he would go to these seances, and once he figured out their method, he would go in costume and he would stand up in the middle of their show and go, I am Harry Houdini and you are a fraud.
I love it!
And he would expose them. And he partnered with the Scientific American Journal, and they traveled the whole country looking for the real deal.
That's
and they
really
actually
cool.
put up a huge challenge, a $10,000 challenge at the time, and he died in
That's huge.
1926.
That's a lot of money.
He put up all this money just to find the real thing.
Did they find it? Did they find the real
Not
thing?
in his lifetime. But he gave that code word to his wife because he figured if anyone could escape death, it would be him.
Interesting. That's
So you were
super
right.
fascinating. Yeah.
You were right.
I'm like half
Because
right.
he escapes everything. All right, one more. Exorcism is a booming industry today in the U.S. Fact or fiction? Elliott?
Exorcism? A booming what?
Is a booming industry. Like, it's a thriving, booming
Like that's a thing that's happening
right now in the U.S.
Exorcism in the U.S. I know I should say. You know what? The fact that you're asking the question means it's probably true, and because it's absurd. So I'm gonna err on the side of wanting to be right and say that not necessarily what I cognitively. I'm gonna say yes. It is a booming industry.
Misty?
I'm gonna agree with Elliott.
It is true. Fact.
But that's pure cynicism that got me for that
You and me
answer.
both, my dear.
Yeah.
You and me both.
It says, well, now they're more readily available than they ever were before.
Demons
and
or exorcisms?
Exorcisms.
Yeah.
Demons
Well,
are.
hopefully demons are not more readily available.
Well, if they weren't, then what are we exorcising?
I guess that's true.
They've got to be everywhere.
So apparently the Catholic Church is still very
Big and
slow
sure.
to approve an exorcism, but
They have
Protestant religions are just exorcising everywhere.
That's about right.
Exorcise the demons everywhere.
That's funny.
Yes.
So thank you guys for your fact or fictions. All right, let's see down here. We've got a tweet from @GayForGoblins that says, "Thank you for your name, Jeremy Siddons." Says,
I think when they name their Twitter handle, they don't ever think it's going to show up on the internet. So they're like, no, like my 20 friends will see the screen name and think it's funny.
It'll be funny.
And then we're like, all right, gay for goblins.
"Gay for Goblins." Says, "This is all just a dream. Multiple streams of consciousness and realities in a fractal universe. Why do I believe that to be true? Mushrooms and LSD." How much do you guys feel having an altered state of mind either is necessary or is influential in people really believing that they're making some form of communication with the life after?
I mean, I want you to answer for it. I'm curious. I'm more curious. You have more to say in this.
I have so much to say on everything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you do, narcotics, which you should just say no to, it probably does make your mind, like, open your mind, so to speak. But at the same time, I've also heard that a lot of what you see and a lot of what you feel and hear is just your brain processing light and sound at a higher rate. And so, that said, I think it can open you emotionally to these possibilities, but actually seeing and being a caveat to, like, the afterlife or the other side, I'm more skeptical with that. But.
A lot of haunted house phenomenon has been attributed to electrical energy in the house because our brains are electrical. So, for example, I had a couple tell me once that they kept seeing the image of a woman. I mean, they both described her. They knew exactly what she looked like. Run out of the bath. She peeked out of the bathroom, and then she'd run across the hall to the bedroom. And
Time to move!
Right? Or is it time to have the electrical fields checked in your house? You know, like it's the same. But what causes that in our brain?
Yeah.
We don't quite know that.
Right.
Yet. And so I think that as far as having an altered state, I think that's what all religion and all spiritual experience is for. Why do you meditate? To get into an altered state so that you can experience peace. You don't normally experience peace in traffic. You put yourself into an altered state. So I think it's imperative to be in an altered state in order to experience anything spiritual at all. And I think it's often a choice, and sometimes when it's not a choice because there are environmental factors, that's when you get stuff that really freaks people out.
And yeah, people will say a type of altered state that allows people to see that is like halfway between being asleep and being awake and lucid dreaming and any of those states. It makes you more susceptible to see these kinds of things and to experience these things.
And I feel like the whole idea of and I could be totally wrong, but the whole idea of skepticism would be to say chalk everything up to either, like I was saying, with like the light being processed faster or groupthink, or past experience that you're like having to work through and all that, but it doesn't downplay like the positive effects that it can potentially have, especially in like for a lot of people in a religious sense. It doesn't necessarily mean that nothing's happening. It just means that whatever is happening can be good. It just might not be what you think it is.
And I always like to think that, that science and any kind of spiritual belief that you have can work hand in hand. I mean, just because something, yes, scientifically we can look at and say is electrical impulses, does not necessarily mean that devalues that it still could be something from the life hereafter, and that's how they communicate via electrical impulses.
Right, and one of the things that I would point out to support what you're saying, and I would always err on the side of science and skepticism, if, when I'm speaking from personal experience, because I've seen so much of it that I can't explain, but I'm not saying it isn't out there, is the fact that science is the study of natural law. we're talking about supernatural things. And so to apply supernatural stuff to natural law, it kind of just doesn't jive.
Yeah,
so
totally.
it's not an accurate way to measure supernatural stuff, and we don't understand enough what this other stuff might be.
Right.
So we can't really put a measuring stick that's accurate on it. We can only speak of personal experience or emotional.
Well, and the irony there too is science has been around for like, in its form that it is now, for like 300 years or something. Like, it's very young. It came about, I believe, during the scientific revolution, which is when they actually distilled like what the scientific process is and all that, and the hypotheses and all the like crap that you go through. Whereas spirituality and religion and belief in the supernatural has been around for way longer, and it's still around today. Like, science didn't snuff it out, and
We've always died.
Kind of work together. That's true.
We just keep dying.
I haven't died yet, though.
Nope. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Our next adventure.
With when I die?
No. No.
I'm looking forward.
I'm looking forward to my personal death. I like you. I want you to stick
Oh,
around.
thank you.
You're a good guy.
Oh, that's sweet.
I'm glad you guys like each other. That means we did a good job pairing people up today.
Get on. You
Did the
know.
last one? Did they go to? Did they? Throw
Sister-
Yeah,
fists?
they totally fought on this couch, on this very couch. There might be blood. I'm sorry. Watch out.
No, it's
Oh,
fine. I
good.
saw it. That's
Where is
not.
it?
That's a health hazard.
At Bryanderson D, Brian
Hi, Brian
Anderson,
Anderson.
just combine those. At Bryanderson D says, I believe that there's nothing, but you're not aware of it because your body has shut down. Consciousness is gone.
Huh?
I don't need that.
Oh,
there-
after you die.
Yeah, I don't know that there needs to be a but in there. I believe that there's nothing, but you can't experience it because your consciousness is shut down. If there's nothing, then
Then you can't.
Then we're
there's
done.
nothing.
We made our point.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
And so my question to Bryanderson D, if you're out there, is do you have any type of explanation for this type of thing? And to anyone out there who's watching, do you have any explanation for near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, telekinesis, any kind of that stuff that really science has been unable to explain up until this point? Let us know your comments and the thoughts down below. At ReaderGirl1213 says, I believe in life after death. It's the path we follow in life that determines where we end in death. How do you guys feel about that?
Oh, now you're getting into. I mean, this. You. How much time do you have? So, I mean, which is basically saying that. Okay, just let's back it up. So, do you believe in an afterlife? And if you do or don't, does it dictate how you live your life? I guess would be the big question.
Okay.
And that's sort of I feel like the presupposition that happens with that question, where it's like, if I want to get to heaven, I am a good person, so I can get to heaven. But
It's
like,
heaven or hell or nirvana or wherever you believe
Right.
that you go after you die.
See, I'm just scared I'm going to end up in, like, Idaho.
In Idaho, you go to Idaho after you
thought you
die?
Serious.
I thought you said a hole, and
Yeah.
I was like,
No,
you
no.
will,
Yeah.
most
Well,
likely.
unless you burn.
Unless you burn.
Unless they burn you up.
And then you just end up on the ground or ocean. Anyway.
Or creeping people out, in their food at Wendy's.
Oh, yeah, totally. The
Because
pepper.
they do that. What? I want my ashes sprinkled on the grill at Wendy's.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
probably against most health codes.
I would hope
think.
so.
I'm pretty sure it's against the law.
But I mean, no, I don't believe in like the the way you act you'll be rewarded for, because I don't believe that God would make a system where it's like karma, which I don't necessarily like. I don't think God's up there like, if you're good enough and you hit that mark, it's like when you're a kid and you're at a ride in Disneyland and you're like, well, if you're up to this
You're
level,
tall enough.
then you get to ride the ride, and I don't think God would do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you
Stomach is
feel
like,
about?
whoa.
How do you feel, Misty, about the way that we behave in life affecting what happens to us after death?
I think more importantly is the way that we behave in life is the quality of life we have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a more
Because we
articulate
don't-
way of what I was trying to say.
we
I agree with
don't-
what Misty's saying. Just go with Misty.
You know what? We really like each other.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that that's the most important thing, is how do you treat others around you and what's your quality of life right now? Because we don't have any solid evidence of what's next.
Right.
And so how do we know? We might start over with a clean slate, in which case we wasted all this time. And I'm not saying don't be, no, I am. Don't be good. Don't be good. Don't
You
be
heard
good.
it from Misty. Don't be good.
I want you to skid into that grave plot, bumped and bloody and bruised, and go, whoa, that was fun!
What a wild ride!
Yeah, like all the t-shirts say,
So speaking of a wild ride, we're gonna jump into some fun stuff that Misty brought to surprise us with.
So I thought it might be fun to do a mini seance. And actually, when I came in, I sort of felt the spirit of an elderly woman. And I have Alice's teacup. There's a ghost that comes with me everywhere I go, and her name is Alice McKinley, and I thought it might be nice to try to contact her. Would you like to help me?
I would love to.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. One of the things that we do in order to really make positive contact is use something which belonged to them.
Okay.
And this was Alice McKinley's teacup. For anyone who knows China, it is Haviland, and if you don't know China, that means it is expensive. But anyway, I thought it would be nice to make her a cup of tea, and I've got some steeping here.
Great.
She takes 2 huge spoons of sugar.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind putting 2 heaping teaspoons. There you go.
1 heaping teaspoon.
You are very good at this.
I mean, I'm kind of nailing it.
He really
2
is.
heaping teaspoons.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll do that too. I'll put it back properly.
you are
And
fancy.
watch this. I'll make it nice and like that. Clean as you go.
Would you like to
Absolutely,
put it
yeah. I don't want to keep it disheveled. I apologize for that.
back? Really? Elegance and
Yep.
class
Yep.
in one fine package. So we've got some tea here. And it's gone a little bit cold. Actually, that gives me an idea. Will you guys link hands, actually?
Oh, sure.
Right
yes.
here, so we can form sort of a mini psychic circle.
Okay.
And breathe in with me and out. Alice McKinley, I sensed your presence strongly in the room. If you are here with us today, please make your tea steam. Oh. Cool. Well, that looks like cold is just the way that Alice likes it.
Well, thank you, Elliott and Misty, so much for joining us today. If the folks at home want to see more of you, where can they find you, Elliott?
YouTube.com/Elliott Morgan and YouTube.com/Mashable. I also did a short with Fright-O-Verse that'll air next week, so stay tuned for that because it's really fun.
Yay! And Misty, if people want to see more of you, where can they find you?
Come see me at mistylee.com. One more thing I want to plug is the James Randi Educational Foundation. It's a society of skeptics that actually continues Houdini's work. The challenge that Houdini set up, which is if you're the real deal, if you're a real psychic and we can scientifically measure you, we'll give you $10,000, is now $1 million. So if you're the real deal, we want to know. Contact James Randi Educational Foundation and show those fellas your goods, and you could get $1 million if you're a real psychic.
How do they scientifically measure it?
All kinds of different ways. It depends on
Really?
what your claim is. Yeah.
Go to the site and check it out, Elliott. Maybe
Yeah,
you could win
baby.
$1 million.
I can do it.
People ask me all the time if a real psychic has come forward, you know, like,
Yeah.
and why why hasn't a real psychic come forward? Why hasn't a real psychic collected the $1 million? And my answer is it's not enough. If I was a real psychic and I could sit here and prove to you, and all my stuff is theatrical, and I never claim to be able to do that. Because my ghosts always show up on time and on request,
Right.
which no real psychic can do.
That's
But
really funny.
the reason that if I were a real psychic, I would not come forward for $1 million, because the minute you can prove to someone, I can absolutely communicate with your grandpa. Everyone's got one last question.
Well, and you'd be under such scrutiny.
Yeah.
Scrutiny, but also you would never sleep. There would be a line out your door
Yeah.
forever, and your life would be over. And $1 million is not enough.
You'd have to deal with tons of people just not able to let go.
That's why we don't have real superheroes, because they're out there, but they don't want to be like, hey, I'm a superhero. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Same thing.
Same
gotta
thing.
be- There'd be
a line
They don't
out the
wanna-
door.
Yeah, like if anybody has X-ray vision, they're not gonna be like, I have X-ray vision. They're gonna walk
They're
around.
just gonna
and
look at you
have X-ray
naked.
vision. Yeah. Oh god.
Well, folks, if you liked what you saw today, please like this video. Make sure to subscribe to Fright-O-Verse to see anything and everything horror. My name's Trisha Hershberger, and let's give one more big thank you to Elliott and Misty for being here
Excellent
today.
job.
You guys are
Fantastic.
awesome.